It is Ryan here, and I have a question for you. What do you do when you win? Like, are you a fist pumper, a woo-hooer, a hand clapper, a high fiver? If you want to hone in on those winning moves, check out Chumba Casino. Choose from hundreds of social casino-style games for your chance to redeem serious cash prizes. There are new game releases weekly, plus free daily bonuses. So don't wait. Start having the most fun ever at ChumbaCasino.com.
No purchase necessary. VGW Group. Void where prohibited by law. 21 plus. Terms and conditions apply.
At Arizona State University, we're bringing world-class education from our globally acclaimed faculty to you. Earn your degree from the nation's most innovative university. Online. That's a degree better. Learn more at asuonline.asu.edu.
You're welcome into Two Guys, One Pod Fantasy Football Podcast. I am your co-host or host, or however you want to phrase it, the hostess with the mostest, aka your favorite podcaster, aka Chef Door Sanders, aka Chef 90, aka the legendary ball knower. And we are here today with my co-host, Addison, the sleaze dog, sleaze bag, sleaze nard dog, narder, nard man, nasty narder. Addi, how are we doing today, brother?
I mean, so much better after that intro. How could I not be swimming in all the nicknames? I mean, like, Chef Door Sanders doesn't have anything on the sleazy Nard Man.
The sleazy, nasty Nard dog, Nard Man. So, yeah, it's been a while since we've been on the mics. All has been well on the front. It's just, adulting and being busy and stuff. I love the episodes you put out with Scott. I don't know. I got to come up with a better nickname for Scott other than.
I know, right? I don't got a nickname for him either.
Like I refuse to call him by his Twitter name. You can go follow him at smaltez, SMALTES on the Twitter Xverse. He's our resident best ball expert. He won the Chow Chow in 2024. Yeah, I guess that would be
24. Yeah,
the reigning Chow Chow champ on Underdog. So, yeah, he knows best ball. We know ball. Obviously, there's a legendary ball knower, and then there's a ball washer amongst us. And wait a minute.
Well, that would make me the ball watcher, but that works. That works.
Washer, not watcher.
Oh, that too. Okay.
No, man, I was just messing with you. I'm glad to be back in the fold, with us, training camp and all this, there's real football happening. We have new football information to evaluate, and we've been waiting since the clock hit zero in the Super Bowl when the Eagles absolutely decimated the Chiefs, punished their bottoms in the Superdome. We've been waiting for some more football since then. We've had fake football. We've had underwear Olympics. We've had OTAs where we got super duper horned up for some odd, like, football dress up. But now we got the teams in training camp. We got some inklings on, like, maybe what could possibly happen potentially on the football field in 2025. So how are you feeling about everything that's been going on so far, Addi?
Dude, I could not be more excited. Like, the fact that we actually get to see some highlights, we're seeing them in some pads adjacent. We saw the Packers roll out a jersey that was almost stylish adjacent. I think you could call it that. I think they just copied they copied the Fighting Illini's uniforms, just for everyone's information there. Like, it's not have you not seen that?
I have not seen this. No.
Oh, you should pull that up because they basically copied the throwback Illinois jerseys to a T. Almost the same color scheme too, which is insane because they're rocking the Bears color scheme there.
Yeah, that's almost identically the Bears color scheme is the Illinois.
That's what I'm saying.
Fighting Illini. That's their color scheme. And they're already in the state of Illinois. And never mind. I don't even want to. The Packers make me so mad.
Anytime the Packers get bad press, I'm in a great mood.
Yeah, I mean, you guys are definitely winning the press war amongst the Packers and Bears wars. I don't really know about the on-field result. Well, you guys just split the series last year. I split the series
We
last
did.
year. That's good.
We did. We
Good,
we have a
good.
year of good data here. All you got to do is ignore the other 120 years.
Yeah, that's what we'll do. Okay, I'll go with recency bias as long as it agrees with my guy.
That brings us into a solid one. We actually have news items today, which is fantastic. So let's get into it. Justin Fields, to the best of my knowledge, is out for the year, right? I mean, he got carted off, so he's.
I heard that he actually passed away.
Yes, I heard that Tyrod Taylor is getting all first team reps, and actually breaking news, Justin Fields is already back on the practice field.
Wait, he resurrected himself?
He resurrected himself. He was doing drills today.
That's big. If I have to go to my sources to confirm this, but if that is true, Justin Fields could be a viable fantasy asset if he is in fact still alive.
He is. But all of the FAAB dollars that you spent on Tyrod Taylor are not alive anymore. So that is worth noting. Give the beat writers time to actually get the stories in here and give us time to actually evaluate some of these injuries, because this is overreaction season. And the best thing that we can do as a community is take advantage of those dips. The Rashee Rices, the Justin Fields, the Garrett Wilsons that are falling down the draft board. Get those guys on your roster.
Got to have them on your roster. So I was looking at Underdog ADP for another show that I've got to do after we finish this one. And I was looking at Rashee Rice's dip, and just week over week from the 18th to the 25th, last Friday to this Friday, Rashee Rice's ADP on Underdog has dipped by 10 spots from, the 2-3 turn all the way almost to the 3-4 turn. So, I mean, everybody sees the suspension coming. We all thought it wasn't going to happen in 2025. It's most likely going to happen now, and we need to be prepared for it. But the beautiful news is it's creating a pocket of value for Rashee Rice again, because I was uncomfortable with him at the 2-3 turn just because there's so many good decisions that you can make there. So many players in that range that I like. Say it again.
That helped my argument a lot, because we talk about Rashee all the time.
Yeah. So I am still, I think that I feel better about his ADP now that he's going in, because the thing is the breakout's was already built into his price when he was wide receiver 12. And I do believe that he's going to break out, but I don't there's a world where, in my opinion, and Rashee Rice being my bring home the bacon player for 2024 at the wide receiver position, there's a world where he doesn't get all the volume that he saw in the first 3 games, or going back to post-bye of the Chiefs of his rookie year with the Chiefs. There's a world where he doesn't see that immense target volume, even though he is a 99th percentile scorer on the reception perception against zone. There's just a world where he doesn't go back to that insane volume, averaging over 9 targets a game or whatever it was in 2024. And so if he's being drafted a wide receiver 12 and he gets a floor outcome, he could finish as wide receiver 18, wide receiver 20. And if you're taking him at wide receiver 12, it just leaves you with no room for error on his outlook and his prognosis, and the fact that he's going to miss between 2 and 4 games. For legal updates, there's a Twitter account that I absolutely love. But what are your thoughts as far as that goes?
I am absolutely thrilled that I can get my exposure rate up on Rashee Rice, because we've been talking about this a ton, and I am a big believer in Xavier Worthy's prospect profile. Have been since he came out. I like any player that's fun to play with in Madden, so of course I'm going to love Worthy. But Rashee Rice does have an excellent prospect profile himself. Like if we look in our database, we have him comped to Terry McLaurin, DJ Moore, Malik Neighbors, Luther Burden, Emeka. Like those are quality outcome players. And I was pretty terrified to have as low of an exposure rate as I did, but I've been seeing him fall all the way to the bottom of the fourth. I got him at the 411 in underdog this week.
Oh, wow. Now that is an overcorrection that I can get behind. No,
right? Like I was like, okay, well, apparently my stance has changed because I don't hate players. I hate ADPs. And if Xavier Worthy is going a round and a half ahead of Rashee Rice, that is quite the overcorrection. So we started this offseason on an argument, and we're going to end on the same side of this coin because I'm getting Rashee everywhere I can if he's fallen below the 3-4 turn.
How to have fun anytime, anywhere. Step 1, go to ChumbaCasino.com.
ChumbaCasino.com. Got it.
Step 2, collect your welcome bonus.
Come to Papa welcome bonus.
Step 3, play hundreds of casino-style games for free.
That's a lot of games. All for free?
Step 4, unleash your excitement.
Chumba Casino has been delivering thrills for over a decade. So claim your free welcome bonus now and live the Chumba life. Visit ChumbaCasino.com.
No purchase necessary. VGW Group. Void where prohibited by law. 21 plus. Terms and conditions apply.
This is your before and after story. Instead of imagining a rewarding career in medical imaging, Southeastern College can actually take you there. Prepare for a career in ultrasound, radiology, and X-ray technology. With hands-on specialized training, simulations, and real-life experience with the latest imaging technology, you'll be ready to play a vital role on any healthcare team. Transform your life by helping others. Southeastern College. Your future is bright. Visit scc.edu to get started.
Yeah. I mean, that's the beautiful part of this whole deal is we're able to take a step back and really look at the price point. I think, I was trolling you about how bullish I am on Rashee Rice just because I want to see how bad you believe whatever it is that you came to the conclusion on Rashee Rice. And I said literally 2 days later on the show, I was like, look, I absolutely hate this ADP. I believe in Rashee Rice. The guy I was on with, Pete Nasty Nova, friend of the podcast, going to come on and do some work with us here pretty soon. He agreed with me. We both love the talent of Rashee Rice, but the ADP at the 2-3 turn is just that 2-3 turn ADP makes it a no for me, dog. I have no desire to click the button at that point. And it's just because could Rashee Rice was third in points per game in 2024 in the 3 games. But I mean, we don't know if there's, if the Xavier Worthy breakout is starting to happen, if him and Mahomes were continuing to use him in that deep downfield role, like we saw him hit that deep shot against the Chargers in week 4 when Rashee Rice got injured. We saw him hit the deep shot in the Super Bowl. So you don't know, right, whether or not that, that torrid pace that Rashee Rice was on, you don't know if that's going to continue. And I believe that it will. And that was the crux of our disagreement, our discourse on the subject, was that I think that it's going to continue and you didn't, but we both agree on the fact that the price point is just too gross at the 2-3 turn. It's too risky.
Yeah.
When you could get guys that you don't have suspension concerns for, when you don't have volume concerns potentially, when all those things are not prevalent in your decision to click the button, it makes you feel a whole lot better. I don't know how we got onto the Chiefs for 9 minutes there or however long that was just now, but let's get back to the show sheet.
We should probably do that. Let's stay in division here. So we got Chargers wide receiver to watch, and I'm going to start this with the bottom point on our show sheet. Quentin Johnston starts with a fantastic offseason. The second he puts on pads, you're seeing memes left and right of Ladd McConkey standing behind him trying to catch footballs off of his drops.
Butterfingers.
Oh, this is just... So...
It hurts. It hurts.
It doesn't hurt me. I refuse. I am as close to a Quentin Johnston denier as you will find on Al Gore's internet. I can't do it. I didn't agree with it when they took him, they took him in the first round in 2023. I was willing to pick him up off the waiver wire last year because he was useful. I mean, we're talking about a sophomore season with 811 yards, I believe, and like 8 touchdowns. That's, by all standards, a decent rookie season or sophomore campaign, second year, if you will, for a first round pick. That's solid, right? But the context is key. This is why you got to be a ball knower and not a ball watcher. Okay. Because if you just look at the box score, if you're a box score hunter, you're going to go look at what Justin Herbert was able to do. And you're going to go, well, I mean, they have this one guy and he was awesome. They have another guy who was really good too. And then they're like, oh, who's the other guy? And you say the name Quentin Johnston and you can see the soul leave from people's body because it's gross. No one wants Quentin Johnston because he has apparently there's an NFL pandemic going on where Kadarius Toney has now infected Quentin Johnston with the curse of Megan Fox thumbs when he puts gloves on. So here we are talking about Quentin Johnston still dropping passes in the year of our Lord 2025, and water is wet. Let's move on to our next point, brother.
Yeah. I mean, well, we have 3 good stories here for the Chargers wide receiver too. Keandre Lambert-Smith has been making plays with the first team, which is insane to me. Love to see that. We have Oronde Gadsden getting some run at wideout and making tons of plays. The only highlight I liked more than Lambert-Smith's was Gadsden at the back of the end zone catching a Herbert pass, and one that Quentin Johnston would not catch, I can say certifiably. And Trey Harris is even out there making plays. It's pretty insane to think that Quentin Johnston might be a cut candidate if things keep going the way they're going. In my opinion, at least. I think you'd have to put him on that radar.
You think he's a cut candidate?
I don't think he is today. I think he will be by the end of the offseason, because if these guys are as good as we think they are, and I really do, like Oronde Gadsden, I know is your guy, but he has been incredible in every stage of this process. And each time he takes a step to the next level, it's kind of like when Terry McLaurin came in the league. A lot of the discourse around him was, this guy didn't have the college dominator. He didn't have whatever metric they needed. But the second he got into the training camp building, there was no question what kind of a player he was. We're hearing the same thing about Gadsden, Lambert-Smith. And this is the reason that you actually pay attention to the beat writers during the offseason, because you can get that insight to, hey, how is the team viewing this position grouping? Because if there are openings, when you have a first-round pick and the door is open for 6th-round players, for 7th-round players, for undrafted players to get those reps, that feels a lot like N'Keal Harry to me. It doesn't feel a lot like Marvin Harrison Jr.
Right. No, not at all. Buddy. Don't even. Let's move on to our next news item here.
All right. We got the Browns QB watch. We're seeing Joe Flacco sit out a lot of 11-on-11 drills. Makes sense. He has to get to bingo. He has to do all the things that the senior citizens do after practice.
Naps.
Yeah, he has to nap. And he knows what he's doing. He's been with Stefanski before. He knows what's going to go on there. But Dylan Gabriel got the quote in the offseason that everything over the shoulders is a first-round quarterback. And that's the same problem that everyone saw with Dylan Gabriel throughout the draft process that I tried to paper over myself, where I'm like, man, everything above the shoulders looks like this guy's a great quarterback, but below the shoulders, you are not sure. Luckily, the guy he's competing against is Kenny Pickett, who also above the shoulder seems like he knows what he's doing, but just below the wrist, he is missing a little bit of what is it called? Size to be able to grip that football.
Yeah, the ends of the digits on the ends of his arms aren't big enough to actually grip and rip a football. He grips it and he bunny tosses it. He's underhand throwing it out there. We know that it's probably going to be Joe Flacco. Dylan Gabriel and Shedeur Sanders will have to perform incredibly well in the preseason for them to be the week one starter. Right now, to me, the week one starter is Flacco. I'm not buying this Kenny Pickett business. Kenny Pickett's not a good NFL quarterback. That is hashtag analysis there. So I don't really like what's going on with any of this positive buzz. Brother, we know it's Flacco. We know it's Flacco. He's got grown man hands. He's a grown man with his AARP card, and he's going to lead us to the path of prominence with Jerry Jeudy, Cedric Tillman, and David Njoku in the fold.
Okay.
How do you feel about that?
I feel great about it because I think that Judy's undervalued. I think Cedric Tillman might be the most undervalued player in fantasy. That being said, I see here that he went down today in practice, which is terrifying. But just that being said,
speculation that it's a calf injury.
6 weeks away too. We got plenty of time. Buy that dip. He's already low in that ADP, so you're in a good position to do that. But the fact that Judkins is getting off to a slow start here too kind of means that they have to throw the football even more than they already did, in my mind, which is insane because Joe Flacco is going to be tearing up box scores at the end of games because of how much they're going to be down by. Like, this should be the dream scenario.
Beautiful. Yes. I wholeheartedly agree. This is great. This is great. And it kind of segues into your next question. Well, the next point here. This is going to be fantastic. The Browns' rushing attack was one of the most anemic in the entire NFL after being one of the most prevalent and dominant for years with Nick Chubb and Kareem Hunt. So with Quinshon Judkins, everyone's aware that Quinshon Judkins is dealing with some off-the-field alleged potential domestic violence situations, which we don't condone that in any way, shape, or form. But we also want the process of justice to be played out. We feel like we have to say that as, human beings and content in space. Our thoughts go out to everybody involved. With that being said, back to the fantasy realm, I think that there's a vacuum of opportunity for one of these guys to be, a sneaky flex RB2 play. And I'm going to be honest with you. I'm placing my bets on Jerome Ford for this year.
Really? I was about to make the case for Dylan Sampson. So this will make for some good radio. I love this.
That's why we've got it. That's why we're two guys in one podcast. We're gonna get on.
Thank goodness we don't just have one.
Yeah. Yeah, this isn't one guy, one pod. This is two guys, one pod.
Ready. Fight.
So I'm on the Ford side just because I've seen him do some really good things. I think that the inefficiency as a whole of their ground attack, they only had 8 rushing touchdowns. They only averaged 94 yards a game. A lot of that falls at the feet of the offensive line, who was incredibly injured last year. And so I think that they'll have somewhat of a return to performance with some of those guys that they have under, some of these guys that they get back, they're under contract. They've got some uncertainty. They've got a little bit of uncertainty as far as, they lost, I want to say, they didn't lose Bitonio. Bitonio's still in Cleveland. But they lost someone, and it escapes me, which is why we're doing a podcast, and I gave you like 3 seconds of dead air just now. But I think that this O-line is going to be better. Jerome Ford has a penchant for the big play. When, there was any sort of ground success for the Cleveland Browns, it was mostly through Jerome Ford last year. I believe week 1, he caught 5 or 6 passes against the Cowboys. And he's capable of doing, handling the workload. He comported himself admirably when Nick Chubb got injured last year in 2023. So I'm going to bet on Jerome Ford in the contract year to go get him maybe a little mini Rico Dowdle bag somewhere else going into 2026.
Well, I I'm going to be a little tongue-in-cheek here because I still think that Ford is a fantastic pick, to be entirely honest. Dylan Sampson is 20 years old. He is one of the youngest players in the NFL. We saw a guy with a fantastic player profile last year in Braylon Allen, who was 20 years old, who had some flashes but didn't get on the field all the time, because when you're 20 years old and on a professional football field, it's pretty hard to maintain any level of consistency with people that have been there for a long period of time. So I'm going to give that caveat for Sampson, but then I'm going to go really in depth here to say that both Sampson and Ford have a very similar build. They also have a very similar archetype and a similar role when you're talking about an NFL franchise. Ideally, that is your 1B in your rushing attack, whether that's your Tajay Spears, your Tony Pollard, your Travion Henderson. And that's who they comp to. Both of those players comp really well to Bucky Irving, Tony Pollard, players that can make a lot of things happen with the ball in their hands and that can contribute in every area of the field, but players that are also limited. And we've seen that throughout Ford's career. We know that Ford will not take more than 60% of the backfield opportunities because he'll get hurt. Like, it's almost undoubtable that when you give a running back that size, that much opportunity, especially when they have an injury history and have done this before, that they're going to get hurt again. And Stefanski knows that. So I'm inclined to think, okay, if I'm looking at these two profiles, who's a little bit faster? Who had a little bit more acumen to their name coming out? And that's Dylan Sampson. Now, that doesn't mean that day one, he's going to be the big contributor to this team. But if we get an opportunity where Joe Flacco is starting the whole year, or even if Shador comes in for that matter, and same with Dylan Gabriel here, Kenny Pickett comes in, everything's shot to dust, and don't listen to anything we said, drop all Browns.
Bubba Wallace here from 2311 Racing. Funny thing about being fast, you end up waiting a lot. First to show up, first in line, then just waiting. Me, I rev up Chumba Casino. With over 200 social casino games, no slow lanes here. Why sit around when you can spin? I'm already racing. Your turn. Play for free at ChumbaCasino.com. Let's Chumba.
Sponsored by Chumba Casino. No purchase necessary. VGW Group. Void where prohibited by law. 21 plus. Terms and conditions apply.
Get them off your team. But if any of those three guys are throwing the football, running backs are going to be getting receptions. And both of these guys have the profile that says that they can be the number one fantasy scorer on the Cleveland Browns. So I'm a little tongue-in-cheek there because I love Ford as well, and I think they're very comparable players, but I'm inclined to take Sampson just because the upside is still there. We know what Jerome Ford is.
That's fair. That's fair. I think there is an element of skill set overlap with the two guys. I would bet on the vet here. Bet on the vet. That rhymes.
Probably a smart bet.
I'd want to bet on the vet here just because I've seen it. I've seen it with him a few times. And if I'm going to bet on what I think is probably going to be a low yield offense, I'm a little bit less inclined to bet on a guy that's still trying to get his bearings about him on the NFL level. So hopefully, if we were talking about Quinshon Judkins in this situation, I've talked about ad nauseum about how I feel about Quinshon Judkins, but I don't think I'm going to get that anytime soon. So we don't have to spend too much time there, but I think that was an important discussion point to hit on because of the fact that we have no idea how this is going to play out.
Don't.
It went from, okay, cool, Quinshon Judkins is a little expensive, and I don't really know how I'm going to play that situation because I don't think that the offense is going to be very good, to, cool, I'll just take one of the two guys left now with one of my last round picks in any sort of redraft or dynasty format.
Yeah, and worth noting here, like, this is another buy the dip situation. Like, if Quinshon gets into, like, the low RB 30s, we know what kind of talent that guy is. We have to still stand by that prior.
There's some people out there that are just QJ deniers.
Oh,
now,
I
we
know.
moved the moniker of QJ from Quentin Johnston, fake West Coast huge, to real huge that makes you want to use power tools, the running back, the establisher of it. So, but let's move on to the next point.
Yeah. We have Giants QB watch here. Jackson Dart starts his training camp with a pick 6. And Russ has been making plays. Couple underthrows to Neighbors, but that's part of Russ's acumen. Like, he's a big throws it to where he wants it to be, not the receiver. So on brand for him. But we've been seeing some really big plays from Malik Neighbors and Russ in training camp. And I could not be more thrilled because every single thing that Malik Neighbors showed last year was with some of the worst QB play we have seen in modern NFL football. So correct. I am absolutely thrilled.
Yeah, no question about that. The upgrade is undeniable at the quarterback position for the Giants. Now, I guess the more fruitful question would be, how many games do you think that they get to in the season with a week 14 bye? How many games do you think that Russ holds on to that starting job?
Dude, it's so dependent on the quality of the rest of that division in my mind. If Washington is able to put together the same kind of run that they had last year, and I still think they can. I think Debo is a great receiver, and that we're all kind of just leaving that in the dust and pretending like Washington didn't actually add to their receiver room with Terry out. But if Washington is, for whatever reason, facing some sort of decline from last season, if Russ keeps them in the wild card hunt, they're going to keep him in. Daboll is going to lose his job if they do not make the playoffs. That is how simple it is for that guy. He's going to play the best QB in the room until he absolutely has to take him out. And I think that's going to be Russ for a lot of this year. I'm going to go 10 games minimum.
So you think that with them having a week 14 bye, you think that they
last till then?
He lasts until at least the bye week?
I think he lasts until week 14 without injury.
Wow. Okay. So maybe I'm the one that's a little bit more bullish on Jackson Dart than we initially thought. That's interesting because I'm not a Jackson Dart guy at all.
We were on the other side of this before the season.
Yeah. And I'm not a Jackson Dart guy. I'm not a Russ guy. What we're all secretly, quietly under the table saying Hail Marys for is Jameis Winston to get this starting job so that he can send Malik Neighbors on a trajectory. Like Malik Neighbors is probably going to be the first wide receiver to have a month where he averages 40 fantasy points a game if Jameis is a quarterback. I mean, I'm being somewhat cheeky, but man, I tell you what, that's the one. That's the one where you're talking about a player that just a rising tide lifts all boats. We've seen him time and again just compel these wide receivers to fantasy dominance with his willingness to just throw pick sixes and just have to get back out there and get after it again. So we're all secretly, quietly rooting for Russ. Rooting for Jameis, never Russ, not even if there's a fire, unless Sierra's there. And that's a different deal. But we don't have to get into that right now. Let's talk about another sad quarterback situation. This whole deal with the Colts. Where are you at? Where are you at with this, Addi? I need to know. I need to know from the sleazebag himself. Is that what we're going with? Are we going with sleazebag? Or are we going with Nard Sleazer or Sleaze Narder?
Any of the three work.
It's been it's been 8 months, and I'm still workshopping stuff for you.
I mean, I appreciate that you're learning the pronunciation. So I gotta say, man, like this one just hurts me so much. Like I'm so happy A-Rich is in training camp. I'm also really unhappy that Anthony Richardson is in training camp because probably the worst thing that he can do for his future prospects with the Colts is throw a football in front of those coaches.
Oh my goodness. Oh my goodness. So
And it
we're
sucks.
talking about a guy. We're talking about a guy who has all the physical tools. Like, you build a quarterback on Madden, there's a 99% chance that your guy has all the same measurables of Anthony Richardson. Now, the problem is everything else is going to be, the agility, the speed, the size. Those are all going to be 99th percentile. But then the actual ability to play quarterback is going to be somewhere in the 30th percentile or lower. And I want it to happen, dude. I've wanted Anthony Richardson to be a thing since he stepped onto Ben Hill Griffin Stadium grass. I have wanted him to be a thing. And it's just never happened in the way that I need it to happen for him to actually be a thing. And when I say be a thing, I mean be a good quarterback, not an NFL quarterback. I didn't see him be a good college quarterback. And so now we're projecting this step forward because, Shane Steichen started out with Jalen Hurts, and he propelled Jalen Hurts from like iffy franchise quarterback to Super Bowl participant under his watch. So we immediately assumed that this is how it's going to go for Anthony Richardson. What we left out was a bunch of context. And the context is he doesn't have nearly the reps that Jalen Hurts has. He's never been an elite processor. He's gotten by off of incredible athleticism for a very long time. And the same thing could be said with Daniel Jones to a lesser extent, in my opinion. He's never been a polished thrower of the football. He's never had great weapons to throw to, but besides that, he's still we're projecting. He does have a massive rushing upside. He doesn't have the projected rushing upside of Anthony Richardson, but very few QBs do, if we're being totally honest. So for me, I don't know what I want here. I think that it would be better if Daniel Jones wins, but we've seen Josh Downs average 12 points a game last year with Anthony Richardson and Joe Flacco kind of splitting up the reps. We saw Alec Pierce, now I will say this, one of the biggest values, I think, in mispriced assets in all of the fantasy community is Alec Pierce.
Really?
Yes.
Explain.
Him and Anthony Richardson have a real connection that I can't explain it. I can't fully quantify it.
Hello, it is Ryan, and I was on a flight the other day playing one of my favorite social spin slot games on ChumbaCasino.com. I looked over at the person sitting next to me, and you know what they were doing? They were also playing Chumba Casino. Everybody's loving having fun with it. Chumba Casino is home to hundreds of casino-style games that you can play for free anytime, anywhere. So sign up now at ChumbaCasino.com to claim your free welcome bonus. That's ChumbaCasino.com and live the Chumba life.
Sponsored by Chumba Casino.
No purchase necessary. VGW Group. Void where prohibited by law. 21 plus. Terms and conditions apply.
But it came to fruition last year in the form of Alec Pierce leading the NFL in catches. I believe he had 830 yards on just over 40 catches, if I'm not mistaken. It might have been 37 for 822, if I'm not.
It was.
Yeah.
How in the world did you have that one off the cuff?
Man, you look at stuff enough, it just sticks with you. So,
damn, man.
I think that he's one of the, as much as I love Addi Mitchell, and I think Addi Mitchell is going to have a long and productive career and be a very good receiver for fantasy as soon as they get the quarterback thing figured out and he can get on the field full time. But the connection between, we've seen, there's two things. One, the connection between Anthony Richardson and Alec Pierce is absolutely real. And two, we've seen, if it's going to be Daniel Jones, we've seen Daniel Jones have a rapport with a very similar stylistic receiver in Darius Slayton to what Alec Pierce is.
Ooh, now you see the vision.
You see,
I fully see it.
Yeah,
I'm kind of hyped.
Yeah, man. So I think he's one of the most mispriced assets in the entire community. We could do a whole show on guys who are mispriced, but I really think that he's going to be the preeminent value in terms of guy who outperforms their ADP the most. Obviously, Josh Downs is a lot cheaper than I think he should be. Never Michael Pittman, not even if there's a fire, not even if there's a fire. But Alec Pierce, is probably the cheapest asset that you can get that's going to return on what that passing game is as it's constructed right now.
I'm entirely with you. And I felt like the Pierce value was weird in like the 70s in underdog. Like wide receiver 70, you're talking like Tutu Atwell territory.
Correct.
It's kind of crazy.
Would you rather bet on Tutu Atwell or Alec Pierce?
Alec Pierce, without a doubt. And
exactly.
Speaking of mispriced assets, we're getting into the next one here because we can only beat a dead horse on me picking up A Rich so many times. Is Darnold and Kupp are showing connections in the training camp arena. And I really love to see that because I thought they'd be able to make that JSN Cooper Kupp slot only offense really stick. And I'm starting to think that it actually might be a thing. And if Kupp's healthy, you getting him at wide receiver 48 is insane.
Okay. These are two players that I could not be further out on for 2025. And part of the reason is that I think that I'll keep this one brief because I've talked way too much about way too many things, and we've wasted a lot of the episode with me being, the meat bag that's talking way too much. But quickly, Cooper Kupp's yard per route run lined up outside on the line of scrimmage just evaporated. It went below 1 yard per route run in 2024 after that magical stretch where we thought we were getting Cooper Kupp, the professional back. And then Sam Darnold, I'm just not a Sam Darnold believer. He had 27 turnover-worthy plays in 2024. That only equated to 12 interceptions. I think that number probably increases by a decent margin if this O-line isn't all the way figured out. They did take Gray Zabel, one of my favorite guys from the Senior Bowl and the 2025 draft process, but I just don't. I'm hands off on this. I'm going to have to be late to this party, and fortunately, no one's ever going to believe in either one of these guys from a dynasty perspective enough for them to be inacquirable for a reasonable price. So, yeah, what are your thoughts here?
I'm entirely with you on Darnold, but that being said, they have a great contingency plan in Milroe, and I'll be honest, Milroe and Cooper Kupp is not really the fit that I'm going to be clamoring about here. Like, I don't actually think that's going to be super beneficial for fantasy, but for as long as Sam Darnold's on the field, he does find guys in the slot. He is a pretty typical processor of information for an NFL quarterback. Like, the guy is able to get the ball to where it's supposed to go and also to where it's not supposed to go more frequently than I'd like, which is why I struggle to really pin this argument on Darnold. But that being said, at wide receiver 48, you're basically taking a flyer. Like, the guy could end up on waivers by week 3 if we're talking redraft here. Because,
hey, it's Ryan Seacrest. Life comes at you fast, which is why it's important to find some time to relax. A little you time. Enter Chumba Casino. With no download required, you can jump on anytime, anywhere for the chance to redeem some serious prizes. So treat yourself with Chumba Casino and play over 100 online casino-style games, all for free. Go to ChumbaCasino.com to collect your free welcome bonus. Sponsored by Chumba Casino.
No purchase necessary. VGW Group. Void where prohibited by law. 21 plus. Terms and conditions apply.
that guy on your roster, that's your 6th receiver. That's your 5th receiver. Like, you can stand to get that guy off your team. And I got to say, if we're talking about proven assets, like, when Kupp shows ceiling, it is a high ceiling. So if they are able to figure this out, I am so in. But I'm with you. Like, I think by week 3, we're going to have a really clear idea. And I don't want to miss the train by being entirely out on this offense because I can't take JSN at wide receiver 18 because I don't believe in Darnold.
Right. That's the thing that I think that you have to do some mental gymnastics to be able to be confident in JSN, but while fading Sam Darnold and Cooper Kupp. So if JSN is really him, then he's going to command coverage. He's going to dictate coverage and be able to free up Cooper Kupp for other opportunities, free up the Torrey Hortons of the world, free up the Elijah Arroyos, who's getting some positive buzz. It makes me really nervous to bet on this offense and to not, like, to me, it just feels like lightning in a bottle, more so with Sam Darnold than it does with Geno Smith, and Baker Mayfield, because I still saw some of the warts, even though I did see Sam Darnold play the best football that I've ever seen him play. It just bothers me that he's moving to a situation with decidedly worse weapons, with a decidedly worse offensive line, and that makes me really, really nervous here. But let's move on to
I mean, outside of the warts, I got one more. Aside from the warts, he's also seeing ghosts. Okay, moving on. So I'm going to skip over the Wilkins news. Wilkins got released largely over disagreements about how he handled his injury. Ayuk, there's still no timeline. Everyone should be expecting this. Ayuk is probably not going to play until midway this year. But one thing I want to make sure you have time to fully talk me off this ledge on is J.J. McCarthy. Possibly the best training camp quarterback of all time. And J.J. Watt poignantly put in there that training camp stats might be the dumbest thing that we've started using as an evaluation metric. But Kevin O'Connell has been throwing out some crazy stuff about J.J. McCarthy, Pat Mahomes comparisons, a little bit of how outstanding, possibly the best offseason he's seen. Justin Jefferson's been the only one talking like an adult in the room and kind of taking us down to the point where there should be some tempering of expectations. But should we believe all this smoke? Because there is a lot of smoke. Like, I know that we've had disagreements over what kind of prospect JJ is, but that being said, like, when you see this much beat writer smoke, shouldn't you kind of assume there might be a fire?
Okay, let me address this in parts. The first part being J.J. Watt and what he said about training camp stats. I am in 100% agreement. As someone,
totally hilarious.
I as someone who understands that you might put a defense out there to give the kid a look. The kid being J.J. McCarthy here, or just any quarterback. You might give the guy a look to see what he's comfortable with, and if he starts dicing that up, you're dictating the looks that he sees and making that something that, creates comfort in repeatability for him. Whereas in a real game, they're doing everything they can because their jobs are on the line to stop you from doing so. In a practice environment, that's never going to happen. They're never going to throw something like Brian Flores. If you don't think Brian Flores could absolutely put JJ McCarthy in a stinking blender and puree him into something horrible, and think that he wants to do that. You've heard about what he used to say to Tua on a day in, day out basis. This dude just lives to mess up quarterbacks' lives. So him having the best training camp of all time, it feeds to my next point. Him having the best training camp of all time is everyone patting their first round pick on the back and having him be, as comfortable in this environment and taking command of it and taking all the worries and the extraneous things that come with being a professional American tackle football quarterback out of the equation so that he can get the reps and have things look similar and have things be, create some sort of comfort for him throughout this process. Because if you're not, what are you doing? This is one of the dumbest things you could do, is to spend a first round pick on someone and then not set them up for success. If you hired somebody as your assistant, would you just be like, hey, figure it out? I'm not going to teach you or tell you anything that I need. Just figure it out. Like, that doesn't work. So I don't buy this JJ McCarthy having the best training camp of all time thing. if he goes out there in preseason and he's absolutely dicing everybody up, hey, let's go back to the 2022 season. Okay? The 2022 season, George Pickens and Kenny Pickett were absolutely unstoppable in the preseason. Kenny Pickett's on his 4th team now. So let's temper our expectations with the Mahomes comps and you're a Bears fan. Caleb Williams objectively had a fantastic rookie season. Does it feel that way to you?
Oh, certainly not. But I love Caleb, so yeah.
I do too.
Yeah.
And the thing is, if JJ McCarthy comes out and throws, Caleb led the league in air yards last year, by the way. If JJ McCarthy comes out and he throws for 3,800 and 20 touchdowns to just 6 interceptions and runs for 400 yards, do you think that people will view that in the fantasy community as an absolute win? Yes or no?
No, certainly not. They'll view it as an absolute loss.
Exactly. And so when I'm talking historical comps and all this stuff, like Mahomes is the outlier of outliers. So anytime that you start bringing that out, you're setting a kid up for failure. I say kid because I'm 40 and this kid's like 20. JJ McCarthy's, I'm old enough to be his father. So I can call him a kid. But respect to this young man. And I want him to do well. But I just think that it's a little ridiculous that we're literally just, hey, this is the only way that this can go. This is the only way that this can go. And then Justin Jefferson pulled his hamstring at practice today. So now we're going to have to get him comfortable and confident in having Jordan Addison, who's probably going to be suspended, and TJ Hawkinson as his guys. So, do with that whatever information that you want. Okay.
Oh, I certainly will. And I really love the context of the way that defenses are used in practice. Both of us played back in the day, and we both played D-line, despite the fact that we look very different in terms of size and shape. But even for me, and I was a guy who led his high school team in sacks, but certainly would not be considered for the next level. Even in my case, they would come up to me in practice and say, stop touching the quarterback. Stay away from him. Stop going as hard as you are. Try and make it easy on him. They are going to do that in the pros too. They are going to try and make JJ feel as comfortable as humanly possible. All that you should be hearing is good stuff.
Right.
And to be honest, if he gets steamed up past the 20s, he is a terrible value because his floor projection is a lot more likely than his ceiling. And despite the fact that his ceiling is real dang high, we saw it from Sam Darnold last year. He could have 30 touchdowns, he could have 10 ints, and he could have 500 yards rushing and a couple scores there. And it might be the best season that we could possibly imagine for the guy. And that is not a likely outcome. The only reason that you should be considering him is if he falls down. So we're in a good spot there. I think we've covered most of training camp here. You got anything else?
Yeah, real quick. We'll go rapid fire. I'm going to ask you about these offenses and which ones that you're the most excited about. You give me one, and then we'll go through a couple of guys that we've got our eyes on in training camp to confirm our priors, and we'll discuss those priors on the next episode. But
perfect.
Real quick, 4 offenses. Which offense are you the most excited about after a few training camp practices? You can only pick one. Falcons, Cardinals, Jets, Panthers.
Hidden and audible here. I'm going Falcons. You see that walking from Kyle Pitts? Absolutely great.
Gross. That's where I was going to go. And I'll actually take the one that you put in the show sheet, and I'll take the Jets. I love what they did selecting Armand Membu. They selected Olu Fashanu last year. Their guards are studs. Pardon me. Their guards are studs, and they're going to have one of the best running games. They got one of the best running backs in all of football. No matter what you think about Breece Hall, that is what he is, and I will accept no further questions at this time. Give me 2 guys that you're looking to confirm your priors on in the offseason or in the preseason before we get out of here.
Give me DeAndre Swift and Malik Neighbors. And
that's
it's
98
strong.
on the radar gun right there, buddy.
Oh yeah, DeAndre looks great.
He does. It's the most obvious. It's the most obvious post-hype breakout, in my opinion, that we've had in so long. And I feel like I'm taking crazy pills because nobody's listening. They're trying to create ways that it doesn't work. And I just don't.
You're talking about Monangai.
Yeah. Look, you're a Bears fan. You know better. Like, there's a chasm of talent between Kyle Monangai and DeAndre Swift. I will not be convinced otherwise.
They hardly play the same position. Monangai might get moved to fullback.
And before we get out of here, my two guys are going to be two guys that I've been very vocal about throughout this process. I'm going to go with Rashee Smith. Rashee Smith getting work with the first team, being used as primarily lining up a wide receiver and winning as a rookie, getting first team reps, him and Jalen Royals. So really excited about that. And then the other guy is Ja'Cory Crosky-Merritt, 7th round running back. I don't think that there's any way that Brian Robinson and Austin Eckler are handling, 70% of the backfield touches by week 3 of the NFL season. If I was going to pick a guy to be Bucky Irving this year, I've said it was Rashee Smith for a long time. I'm going with Ja'Cory Crosky-Merritt.
Oh, that's a take to end on right there. Absolutely love that. You can find me at Duck League Champ on the X and the Instas and all that, and League.champ on TikTok. Please download the League Champ app at the Google Play Store and App Store. And where can we find you, Chef? Everywhere, basically, right?
I mean, I wish it were everywhere. I wish I were omnishev and I was just omnipresent at all times. But you can find me on the Twitter Xverse at Chev90. There's a link tree with all of our stuff there. And then also, please, if you haven't, go download the League Champ app. Put your rankings in. There's a free sweepstakes where you can win a bunch of money just to put rankings in. And we've added an awesome gamify aspect to it where you can just, it's 8 clicks. You've got your template for rankings and you can move them around as you see fit. And now we have a new tier feature on the app. So please, I implore you, if you like free things, this is not, a Ponzi scheme. We're not here to talk to you about, Joseph Smith as your Lord and Savior or whatever the Mormons are doing these days, or your car's extended warranty. We just want to put money in your pocket. So download the app.
Please take my money. All right, let's get out of here.
All right. I'll leave you guys with this. There's ball watchers and there's ball knowers. Assign yourselves accordingly. Until next time.
Riley Herbst from 2311 Racing here, and you know what grinds my gears? Waiting for coffee. But instead of counting frappes and lattes, I fire up Chumba Casino. No apps, no fuss, just fun social casino games to pass the time. By the time my coffee's ready,
Order for Riley.
I've already taken a few victory laps. Next time you're stuck waiting, make it entertaining. Play for free at ChumbaCasino.com. Let's Chumba.
Sponsored by Chumba Casino. No purchase necessary. VGW Group. Void where prohibited by law. 21 plus. Terms and conditions apply.